There is power in a story, and we all have a story. Our stories, if told, can inspire, encourage, and motivate. Hi, I am Rhonda, and welcome to the Book of Lives. Hi everyone, welcome to the Book of Lives. Today we're going to be chatting with an amazing woman who, at a low point in her life, decided to pursue her dreams. Shabana, welcome.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm well.
So
So
happy to hear.
so happy to have you. Lovely story, and I'm looking forward to you sharing it. I'm sure those who are listening will be inspired. So, on the Book of Lives, we are all about stories, and stories have a beginning. Tell me, where does your story begin? I know you're a writer and you had a desire to write. Where did that desire originate?
I've always wanted to write children's books. I've always gravitated towards children. It's something that I looked into, years ago. I looked into it, but it's one of those things you do a little bit of research and then I'm like, I have no space out here with these great writers, Dr. Seuss and, all
Yes,
these people.
yes.
And I've always loved literature. They say
Mhm.
either you're a math person or you're a literature person. Yeah, numbers
Yes.
hurt my head, so I'm a literature person. But I've always done, like for example, my youngest, she didn't like to read. I mean, even today, if you ask her, she'll say she doesn't like to read, right? And I used to try to buy all these books to interest her and find different things, and nothing would interest her. She didn't want to read. So what I started to do was I would ask her what's on her mind, what is she interested in, and together, like on regular construction paper, I would write the story and she would illustrate it. And then thankfully her teacher would let her read it to the class, right? This is when she was younger. So that was a way to generate her to get her interest into reading. And so that was like the very first book on construction paper stapled together. And we're like, well, again, this was something that was like, this would be kind of awesome to do it, if I could do this down the line. But again, it was a thought and I never really did anything with it.
I hear you. So, without going into too much detail, because we're going to have a part two. So, guys, tune in. We have a part two to this interview. So, without going into too much detail, tell us what motivated you to write. I know you've written two books. What motivated you to write?
So honestly, I was looking for another stream of income, but I wanted to be something meaningful. I thought to myself, if something happened to me, I want to leave something behind for my children. And I honestly, I prayed about it. I talked to my Bible study group. We prayed about it. And that later that day, I started getting YouTube notifications about self-publishing. And
Yes.
then I went down the path of doing research and, how could I make this happen? That same night, I wrote the first book. I wrote the first story, Pine Tar to Warm Your Heart, that same night after Bible study.
And you wrote the book and you also illustrated both your
I
books as
did. I
well.
did.
Are you
Yeah.
an artist by chance?
No, no. I mean, I've always, drawn pictures, did painting, but that has been challenging for me. The illustrating part, honestly, is the most challenging.
Mhm. So once you wrote the book, you illustrated, it was published. What did it feel like to see your dream come to reality?
It was awesome because I had, from that night that I got that story, that I wrote that story, it was something that I was obsessed with. It was like I felt like it was now or never. If I leave this and I don't complete it, it's going to become an afterthought, just like how it's always been. And there was, like, honestly, like an urge inside of me. Every chance I had, I was working on this. I spent endless nights learning, trying to research and see how I can make this happen. But once it did happen, I felt so proud, but especially with the way my children reacted. I was like, you know what, that was my success, the way they reacted. But on top of that, the feedback I received, I felt so, it was overwhelming, the amount of, in a good way, overwhelming in a good way, right? The
Yes.
abundance of kindness and support. I had feedback. Parents were saying, our culture needed this, our children needed this, our inner child needed this. And you know, I didn't even realize it's something that I needed. I was I was in a place in my life where I needed that reminder, right? My life had, kind of turned upside down, and I was in my own world trying to figure out how to pick up all the pieces and what to do with the pieces, right? And I needed that reminder that outside of this, there's a whole world out there of kindness and supportive people. Like, there's still good people in the world.
Yes.
So, that feedback that I got that I didn't anticipate, I was like, wow, I needed this, and I didn't know that I needed this. So it was life changing for me.
Awesome. So you have two books. Tell us what the titles of the books are and
Uh,
what themes do these books convey? Because I love the titles and I'm Guyanese, so I can relate. So tell us about the books.
Pine Tart to Warm Your Heart. It's
Mhm.
about pine tart because it's the experience of cooking. It's an experience of baking. It's based off of my memories with my children during the holidays. Um, Me and my youngest, we spend a lot of time in the kitchen baking. Things like pine tart is one of the most popular things because we share it with the school, the teachers, the admin. We share with friends, neighbors, and to give them a little insight to Guyanese food, Guyanese culture. We live here in Florida, and it's not very popular. People are not familiar with Guyanese, so any little bit we can share, we're happy about it. So that's what we do. We're in the kitchen, we're cooking, we're baking. It's based off of our memories, and I'm sure many others probably too. And the second one is chicken curry to comfort your worry. And that one is
Not
dedicated to
not
my
curry chicken, chicken curry.
chicken curry because we're Chinese. So I mean, listen, I'm one of those. As long as it tastes good, I don't care what you call it.
Okay.
But we're Guyanese. In our house, it's chicken curry, right?
Yes,
That's the type of curry you're making is chicken, so that's why
chicken
we
curry.
call it
Yes.
that in our house. But listen, I'll eat it. Anything you call it, I'll eat it, right? But that's my son. That my son is the curry maker.
Nice.
That's something that we cook together. So that one is dedicated towards him, and I feel like chicken curry, it's one of those comfort meals, like when no matter what you do, if it's a rainy day, you come back from vacation, that's like the first thing that we always cook that's like home.
I love it. I love it. I love, by the way, curry chicken or chicken curry, whatever you want to call it, is actually my favorite. It has to go with roti or puri.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yes. Get all your fingers dirty. Yes. Love it.
yes,
Love it.
yes.
What was the most challenging part of this whole journey? The writing of the book. What was the most challenging part?
The
Okay.
illustrations got the best of me sometimes. When I tell you endless hours,
Mhm.
me and my little one stayed up until like 4 a.m. I'm like, oh, I'm too old for this. I cannot do this. But just researching and researching, how do I do this? And just patience, uh, like so many hours staring at the computer screen, like my eyes were literally hurting. That's the best part of it. That was I can't say the best part. That was the most challenging part, right? Writing the book, sometimes maybe I think like a child because I rhyme in my head all the time, right? But the writing it wasn't an issue. Like I said, I wrote the book that same night. So but it's a learning process with the illustrations. I'm still
Mhm.
learning.
So tell me, what message are you trying to convey in your books?
So number one, to preserve our culture, right?
Okay.
Because I feel like
So that would be the Guyanese culture, right?
yes, because
Yes.
as the generations go on, I feel like it's fading. It's getting
Mhm.
a little lost. So I feel like we have to intentionally preserve the culture. Also, I want to give our kids something to relate to, right? Where there's so much that we can learn about other cultures. You could pick up a book and you can learn about all these other countries. I want to give our younger children the opportunity to share their culture and give them something to relate to. It's the best feedback when I I didn't even expect, but I got feedback for people reaching out, teenagers, young adults reaching out saying, "Oh my God, do you know how cool it is to see somebody that looks like me on the front cover, or somebody that looked like me when I was younger on the front cover?" Um, and then also, for the adults, I think it's important I'm hoping this gives them the opportunity to take a step back, just pause for a minute and see things through the eyes of a child, because we're so busy in our day-to-day lives. We're busy we have to feed everybody, we have to work, we have to clean, we have to do all these things. But to children, this is not just a task. Cooking with children, I feel like it's a whole experience. So and these are things that they remember. These are things that build their character and stuff like. So I feel like it's important, just pause as adults. Sometimes pause and see it through the eyes of a child, that it's not a task to them, it's a whole experience to them. So and it makes this more joyful for us, because either way we have to do it, right? But if we can just pause and slow down for a minute and see what we're doing with the children and see it through the eyes of children, I think that makes the whole experience better.
Wonderful. That's beautiful. Thank you. Where can we find your books?
On Amazon.
Okay. Any bookstores in particular, or just Amazon?
Not yet. For now, it's just exclusively on Amazon.
Okay. So I love to end with words of advice. And I know you've been through quite a bit, and we're going to have a part 2 to this interview, because you do have a lot to talk about and a lot to share. But what advice would you give to individuals out there who are facing challenges? What would you tell them?
I would tell them, whatever you're working on, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? We tend to try, we want everything to be perfect, but give yourself some grace. Learn along the way. You can of course, always do your best. Do your best in whatever it is, but your best might be different based on the season of your life, where you are in life, right? As long as you do your best, you're going to be okay. Again, give yourself grace. We tend to want to make everything perfect. We're perfectionists, but at the very least, it'll be an evidence of your growth, right? Just go for it. Don't wait for it to be perfect. Just do it, and you'll learn as you go.
Good advice. Good advice. Don't wait for it to be perfect.
Yes,
I love it.
yes.
I love it. Shabana, thank you so much for sharing the first part of your story. I'm looking forward to having you back again to share the second part. I know you have a third book coming out. I'm looking out for that. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that, or are you keeping it a secret, or it's top secret?
I can tell you. So
Tell me.
so it's it's for Christmas. It's gonna be our Christmas time. Pepper pot and bread for the man dressed in red. That's what we're doing for
Lovely. So
Christmas.
Santa doesn't get cookies and milk; he gets pepper pot and bread.
Not in this Guyanese house, yeah.
All right. I love it. I love it. Shabana, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. And for those of you who are watching, thank you so much. Until next time, stay inspired.